Welcome to Better Life, Better Business, your go-to podcast for how you can grow your business, double your productivity and time off, work smarter and not harder. Brought to you by local business coaching expert Christoph Nauer, CEO of Balance 6 in Walnut Creek, California.
Welcome back to Better Life, Better Business with local business coach and time management expert Christoph Nauer of Balance 6. I'm your host, Rebecca Troxel, founder and CEO of Rebecca's Vault. I am very excited about the conversation Christoph will be having today, where we will continue to talk to business owners about not only what they do to help you with time and in your business, but how they're navigating the world of being business owners themselves.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, and welcome everyone. I'm Christoph Nauer of Balance 6, and today I'm going to be talking with one of the best in the industry, our very own Clifton Barnes of CANC Video Productions, who also happens to be the sponsor of our podcast. So he's the one putting it all together and make it look fantastic at the end. So hi, Clifton, nice to have you join the conversation today versus just working behind the scenes.
Indeed. Thank you very much for having me.
It's great to have you. And as you know, and as our listeners know, the purpose of my podcast really is to provide excellent resources, helpful tools, and tips to business owners. And that's exactly why I wanted you to be on the show, Clifton. Tell us a little bit about what it is you do for business owners and how you bring value to entrepreneurs.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I run CANC Video Productions. It's a family-run company. My father started it in 1985. And here we believe in preserving history because your history matters. Now, I'm not sure if before the pandemic, if you saw there was different commercials that companies like Coca-Cola and big corporations were talking about. They were made in 1960s and the 50s, and they were talking about, they had these commercials talking about their history. And that's what we do at CANC Video. We preserve history through video because we believe your history matters.
That's great. You know, every company's history does matter, you know, and so that's why we go back a little bit here in time, because I'm going to ask you, what's the one thing you wish you had known when you started in your business?
So the one thing that I wish I had known was really something that I wish was told to me early on. One of the things when I was in high school, especially that I remember is someone told me that you won't remember high school really doesn't matter. You won't remember the people that are there. And to an extent, it is true to an extent. However, what I wish I had learned was networking. Networking is very important when it comes to business, because the thing about it is when it comes to knowing who knows who and growing your business, because, you know, knowing you, Christoph, was through networking, knowing a lot of different companies that can help me in different areas. I can help them, networking with individuals and with other companies, because there are people that have specialties that I don't have, which goes into something that you were talking about in your podcast as well, as far as delegating. You know, there's different people that have specialties. My specialties happens to be video, and there are other people that have different specialties for different companies. So networking is something that I wish that I really known early on.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you, Clifton, because it does take a village to raise or to run a business. And having, you know, reliable and experts at your fingertips that you can involve and help out and send you referrals to is important. And I think the idea that people do business with people that they like and trust, I think is still happening today, regardless of technology. Again, since you talked about the history that matters, you talked a little bit about what you wish you had known back then. Now let's fast forward to today. What is currently your biggest challenge?
I would say that my biggest challenge is people knowing exactly what is possible. By that, I mean live streaming. Before the pandemic, people didn't really know what live streaming is. There was people that I met that didn't even know what Zoom was. And so with with live streaming, of course, it took a pandemic, but the thing about it is that during the pandemic, a lot of events closed, a lot of companies closed, and yes, that is a bad thing. But the thing is that there was the possibility that the events could have gone on if live streaming, if they knew that live streaming was possible. We always provided live streaming, but again, when it comes to a wedding, people want to invite their 300 friends, 200 friends, however many friends, and they're not thinking about live streaming. It wasn't even a factor in their mind. It was really that the people are going to come, will come, and if not, oh well. But I think the pandemic really projected the live streaming because I felt that it was going to happen, but it took a pandemic for it to happen. So that would be the biggest challenge is the live stream, just educating people that it is possible.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I didn't know Zoom before the pandemic, and now it's, you're Zooming. It became a term. It's a word, and I know going forward, Zoom is going to be part of the way I run my business. That's just going to be the way it is. So and I think it's sad that it took a pandemic for us to realize that technology can actually help us with our businesses and make it easier, as long as we don't become slaves to technology, but we use it to our benefit. Clifton, what are some of the best resources that have helped you along the way?
I would say definitely. So I'm a podcast guy as well. So different podcasts have helped me along the way. Like I mentioned before, your podcast has helped me when it comes to being balanced, when it comes to delegating everything, learning everything that you have shared through the podcast. I've learned a lot. There are different podcasts. There is a podcast from a guy named Adam Durand of Magnified Media. He's helped me when it comes to search engine optimization or SEO, and has helped my company with as far as Google being found online. And I've used that to translate to not only just to Google, but any other media online, just online in general. That resource, those resources have definitely helped as far as, as far as the company goes. And yeah, those are the different podcasts, uplifting podcasts, mental, just different podcasts personally have helped me, and I use those podcasts when I'm either walking, exercising, or driving, or just driving to a location. That's I usually use that time because I'm in the car, so I use that to learn from the different podcasts.
I
Nice.
love it. Yes, you're maximizing your time. Exactly. Instead of just sitting in the car, listening to music or listening to the news, which is depressing, you educate yourself, learn something. Now, you'd already talked a little bit about delegating, Clifton. So tell us a little bit what that delegating plays, what role that plays in your business.
So for me, like I said earlier, this is a family-run business. Now my parents are retired, living their best life in Tennessee, and so it's really me and my sister that is running the company. So I'm the one that does the editing, the filming. What she does is the social media aspect of the business. So anything that has, if you see any of the blogs that we do, the social medias, as in Facebook, YouTube, or any of that, she's the one that's really putting it together. So I don't have to do that portion of it. Once I have, she comes up with an idea, either I can implement it and then, make a video. She will post it. She will, put it on the various sites so that it can be seen. So really, she is the marketing expert, the marketing team of portion of our company.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think, knowing clearly who is doing what, it makes a huge difference, having clearly defined job description, so to speak, even though you're not, an employee, for one of them, an employee or not, your partners, but having that clearly defined is really absolutely critical, and so I think it's wonderful that you have this figured out and she has her role and you have yours.
Absolutely. I actually have a question. You mentioned that you have listened to Christoph's podcast and used those tools to help improve and use them as education. So I'm sure you've heard all the different podcasts on prioritizing. And our viewers, if you haven't heard them, you definitely need to go back and listen to them. Christoph has discussed the 80-20 rule, the ABCDE method, proactive procrastination. All those different things are different ways of prioritizing. How do you prioritize in your business?
So there's two things that I use. There is my calendar on my phone. We're attached to the hip. So usually everything that goes on, as far as even delegating what goes on throughout the day, there's a calendar event for my whole day. So usually what I do the week before, so on Sundays, I usually have, I look through the week, make sure that I know exactly what's going to happen. But of course, when I'm going to bed, I make sure I know what's happening the next day. So that's what I prioritize with. After that, there is something called Evernote. Now, a lot of people are pen and paper sort of people. I'm a digital person, so I type all my notes, especially if I have a meeting or a client, any sort of meeting going on. I use Evernote, and it transfers from my computer and can go to my phone as well. So I can use that on my notes as well, and then put that in the calendar. But I usually use that for my, pen and paper, the Evernote, and then I use the calendar app.
Perfect. I like that.
Fantastic.
That's a good combo of technology there.
Yeah. So, you're a different generation. So I'm old fashioned. I still have a pen and paper and that kind of thing. But you're right. Whatever works, because the key is if it's not written down, it does not exist. This is I've just noticed that sometimes I catch myself not following my own advice, and so usually comes back to bite me. So as a business owner, you have a lot of responsibilities, Clifton. So how do you make sure that everything gets done? What kind of systems do you have in place to make sure nothing falls to the cracks?
So the system that I use, like I'll harp on again with the calendar as well, but there are also different programs that I use on my computer that will, I guess you can say, organize my various jobs. So there's different jobs that I have, different meetings that I have. So I use different programs to schedule those out and to make sure that, when one of the jobs that I have, I do is transferring old VHS tapes into a digital format. There's a lot of clients that I have, so I need to organize the different tapes, organize the different projects that I have. So I use various programs online that allows me to capture what stage of the project I'm in. And of course, I use dividers to make sure that the physical media is actually divided, make sure they're structured, make sure there's labels. So I use those systems and programs in order to make sure that I'm organized as well. And then notifications, of course, with the calendar app, they give notifications, make sure that the notes, the Evernote has notifications that are given, just to use reminders. It's almost like a sticky notes of the, past time, but I use the notifications, of course, in the digital age.
Yeah, I like the sticky notes. For some of my clients who have a hard time with delegating, I ask them to take a sticky note and put it on their computer and just write delegate on it. So it's a constant reminder, because we all sit in front of the computer, quite a bit every day. I don't know if you probably know that because you're a faithful listener of our podcast, Clifton. So that means you know that only about 3% of people have written goals for their business and their life. So how do you handle goal setting, Clifton?
What I usually do as far as that goes when you say, of course, I'm going to cheat a little bit when you say the written goals. Of course, I have it on the Evernote. That's how I would use it. So, I mean, I guess you knew it was going to happen. But, in all seriousness, I do write down the goals, and I do type them. I will say that I type the goals. But it's good to have that you see it, to make sure that you're actually, in a way, held accountable. You're holding yourself accountable, and to make sure that you're achieving, to make sure that you're understanding where you are in the process. And even if you don't make that goal, the reason why, finding out the reason why did I not make that goal at that time, or what can I do to improve? So it is about writing it down, and in my case, typing it down. But at the same time, it is great to have those goals in front of you, and that's what I do. I just type them down, and so I can see them in that way.
Well, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, it is in writing. It's not pen and paper, but it is in writing. And I love what you said. You have to interact with your goals. You have to look at them and see how am I doing? Am I on track to reach that goal? Or if not, then what happened and what changes do I need to make in order to make this more of a reality? And once in a while, yes, we have to make little adjustments and say, okay, yeah, now maybe this goal was a little bit too ambitious, and so let's try again, and I'll add a couple months to it or something like that.
Yep.
Well, Clifton, you know that my business name is Balance Six, and you also know what the six are, so I don't have to repeat them for you, and I know by now our faithful listeners know what they are. Which one would you like to pick to give some advice to our clients and our listeners?
So the CANC video started in the church. We started recording the church sermons. I say this to some people, and they say we were the live streaming before live streaming. The reason why I make that statement is because what we did is we recorded the sermons for the sick and the shut-in, those that couldn't make it to the church. So, and then we would bring them to those that couldn't make it. So because of that, I would say that not just religion, but God is important to me. So higher power is, to me, very important. I hear that as God, He is. I feel that in the Bible it was stated that God made everything. He's an all-powerful being. Yes, but He wants to commune with us as well. Not to go into a sermon, but at the same time, you definitely want to treat God as a friend. You want to communicate with God. You're building a relationship with God, as in the same way you and I would have communications, that we would talk and build a relationship. Same thing that God wants. So with that being said, I take the time to, like I stated, I'm a podcast kind of guy. So what I do is when I'm walking in the morning time, I listen to the Bible in my ears. So that's what I usually do. And then, of course, I take the time to read the Bible, but usually I take the time to listen to it. And not only that, during that, there are also versions where they give dramatized versions of the Bible. So, you can hear there is different, it almost brings a level to it where you can almost be encouraged with it. They have the dramatization. So you're hearing when Paul speaks, there's actually the emphasis on there. And you're hearing when Jesus speaks. But basically, what I'm saying is that with the spirituality, I listen and read the Bible because I want to have a communication with God.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. That if people who have a belief system like that and believe in a power outside or beyond themselves, it's important to nurture that relationship. You talked a lot about relationship building, and I think you're absolutely right. This is a relationship that you want to nurture as well. And you can only build and nurture a relationship if you spend time with the person, or with in conversation with God. Yeah, couldn't agree more with you.
Absolutely. And so now you've talked to us about how your faith has influenced you, all the resources that influence you and help you grow. How about people in your life? What are some of the people that have been the most influential to you?
The people in my life that has been most influential. So one of the things that I do for exercise is martial arts called Muay Thai. And a little bit basic about it, it is the study of the eight limbs. It was created in Thailand. And it is the reason why I do it, it has pushed me to levels that I didn't think that I was able to do. And that's why I love the martial art, is because that I was able to learn things about myself and my body that I had no idea was even possible. One of the things that one of the things that we learned, or that we are asked to do during the training, is need to do 20 minutes of jump rope. When I say that, I'm like, 20 minutes of jump rope, what? And so, but we did it. And so I take that and I use that as inspiration. And of course, it goes more and more deeper, but I use that as inspiration because if I can do that personally, in my personal life, if I can accomplish that goal, of course, then I use that to translate that into business. Again, setting the goal and then figuring out how to accomplish it. That's what it's all about. So I have definitely taken that motivation in Muay Thai and used that across my whole life, personal, with business, in every situation.
And
Nice.
didn't you just pass an exam or a belt or whatever it's called? I'm not sure because I'm not familiar with it. You just did it was a milestone, wasn't it?
Indeed, it was definitely a milestone. It was, they have, instead of belts, what they call it is progia. And it's the same ranking system. But yes, it was definitely something that I needed to do. And like I was saying, they call them, instead of senseis and teachers, there was an Ajahn, and his name is Ruben. So it's Ajahn Ruben. And what he does, he essentially teaches teachers. So he's more of a master of Muay Thai. So I've learned a lot from him. And yeah, I did one of the Prajna, which is just one of the levels. Yeah, like I said, there's levels to this. So I've just accomplished one of the levels, which is just a goal, and I'll just keep on going.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, I'm sure by now our listeners are curious how they can connect with you online. So how can people reach you, Clifton? How can they
Yes.
find you online?
So you can go to our website at www.cacvideo.com. And the social medias is still CAC Video.
Awesome. Thank you, Clifton. And you do such a great job every week on this vodcast. And I'm really happy you took the time to chat with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, thank you to you for joining us today. If you know someone who would like help and guidance growing their business and creating a legacy, make sure you take advantage of the offer Christoph provides his audience, a complimentary business breakthrough session. And during this session, you will learn how Christoph can help you double your productivity, profits, and time off. All you have to do is go to balance6.biz and pick a time that works for you. And until then, make sure you focus on your goals, writing them or typing them down, and having a better life and a better business.
This week's episode of Better Life, Better Business is brought to you by CANC Video Productions. Since 1985, CANC Video has been providing live streaming, event production, and analog to digital transfer services. They capture those life-changing moments, preserving your history for current and future generations. Because your history matters. Visit their website at cacvideo.com. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
That's all for now. Thanks for listening to another episode of Better Life, Better Business with business and time management coach Christoph Nauer with Balance 6, the leading business and time management company in Northern California. Visit them at balance6.biz.